You have answered "I don't know" to the question of what you want more times than you can count. And each time, some part of you suspected it was a lie. Not the kind you tell to deceive others. The kind you tell because the truth felt too dangerous to look at directly. Subscribe before we go further. What you're about to hear will not feel comfortable, and it isn't supposed to. Part 1. The first thing to understand is also the most commonly misunderstood. I don't know what I want is almost never a factual report. It is a psychological compromise, the mind's way of protecting you from wanting something you've already, privately, judged to be unreachable, unacceptable, or too costly to admit out loud. Desire doesn't disappear. It gets buried under the specific fear of what it would mean to actually claim it. Part 2. Somewhere earlier in your life, wanting something clearly and openly probably cost you. A hope, stated plainly, and then crushed. A need voiced and then ignored. Or worse, used against you. The nervous system learns quickly, and what it learns is this: an unspoken want cannot be denied nearly as painfully as a spoken one. Confusion, then, becomes armor. If you never let yourself fully know what you want, you can never be fully disappointed when it doesn't arrive. If you've ever felt a flash of genuine desire and immediately talked yourself out of it, hit like right now, because what I'm describing is the exact mechanism behind that flash, disappearing so fast you barely noticed it happen. Part 3. For many people, the confusion traces back further, to a childhood where wants were quietly overridden by someone else's expectations, again and again, until the internal compass stopped pointing toward the self entirely and started pointing, instead, toward whatever would generate approval, safety, or peace in the room. Decades later, the compass still points outward by habit. The person asks, unconsciously, "What should I want?" rather than "What do I actually want?" and the two questions produce completely different lives. Part 4. There is a specific, quieter version of this pattern worth naming directly. Sometimes not knowing isn't fear of disappointment. It's fear of responsibility. The moment you clearly know what you want, you become accountable for pursuing it, or for explaining to yourself why you haven't. Confusion in this version isn't protection from loss. It's protection from the discomfort of your own agency. Subscribe if this is landing somewhere real next week. We go further into exactly how to tell these two versions apart in yourself. Part 5. Psychologists who study decision-making have found repeatedly that the body registers a preference, a tightening, a lightness, a specific physical pull toward or away from an option well before conscious reasoning catches up and starts constructing justifications. The confusion you experience is frequently not an absence of an answer. It is the considerable distance between what your body has already decided and what your mind is still negotiating permission to acknowledge. Part 6. Perhaps the most important reframe is this: clarity about what you want rarely arrives as a sudden revelation. It is built slowly through small, low-stakes acts of honest preference, choosing the restaurant instead of deferring, naming the actual feeling instead of the polite one, saying the true answer once, quietly, even if only to yourself. Each small act of honesty makes the next one slightly less frightening. If you've ever surprised yourself by finally knowing exactly what you wanted after years of shrugging, drop it in the comments. I want to know what actually changed. Closing. You were never actually confused. You were protecting something, a hope you didn't trust the world with yet, or a self you weren't sure you were allowed to have. Not knowing what you want was never a character flaw. It was a strategy, built a long time ago, by a version of you who needed it to survive something. That version of you can be thanked now and gently retired. Hit that like button if this named something you've never quite had the language for. Drop in the comments what's one small thing you actually want that you've never said out loud until today. I read every single one. Subscribe before you go. We go further into this next week. Until then, say the true answer once. Just once. See what happens.